Hey everybody, welcome to the Leadership Syllabus. I'm your series host and leadership performance coach, John Jaramillo. The Leadership Syllabus podcast provides insights from leaders on the main leadership lesson they've learned from their life, work, and experiences, and who they are as a person. Each 30-minute mod will capture a bit about who the guest is, their work, and the one lesson they would contribute to the Leadership Syllabus. This collection of mods will offer you a one-series stop of real-world and life lessons to enhance your own self-understanding, awareness, and effectiveness in leadership and life. And my guest today is Nan Price, and Nan is a marketing specialist, content strategist, and storyteller who has spent 20-plus years helping small businesses and individuals create engaging content that makes an impact. Nan enjoys working with people who are passionate about their work and their community. Through her company, Uncommon Content LLC, she has developed all types of content, including in-depth interviews, bylined and ghostwritten blogs, marketing materials, and newsletters for a variety of industries. And Nan is one of those people where I don't even know how I met her. I know we know people in similar circles in the Hartford area. I don't know how we connected. It goes back a while. But she's one of those people, you're one of those people, Nan, where, again, the content that you share, that you create, that you record with partners that you have, or you're setting up your events, happy hours, networking events, whatever it may be. And I see that constantly in my feed, and I just love that it is for networking, it is for community, and I think that's like a major focus that we need right now. Not so much just the networking, but just that sense of community.
Absolutely.
So I've wanted to have you on the series for a while because I appreciate what you're doing for the local area. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first question, how would you describe yourself? Who are you as a person?
Oh, well, you just used all my buzzwords to describe me. And so when I was really thinking about this question, I used to steer away from the word creative. I was like, okay, what does that mean? Is it an artist? But I'm kind of a creative strategist of sorts. I started out always wanting to be a writer, editor, and that's sort of morphed into this community building side of me. That's a whole other level that I didn't see coming. And I think we'll get into that with some other questions as we go along. But I'm a people person. I'm an introverted extrovert. I do value my quiet time, but I really, at the heart of what I do, I want to be a helper. I want to be, of service to people and bring people together. So that's what really drives a lot of the work I do.
So where do you think that comes from, Nan? When you're an extroverted introvert or an introverted extrovert, I kind of fall in those lines. For you, where does that come from? I'm assuming introvert is your nature, the way you're programmed, but then where does that drive to build that community, to get out there and help in that community building? Where does that come from?
That's a great question. And, just to put a pause on that, I think the introverted side of me came later in life, to be honest. It kind of quieted down as I matured. But I was looking back on even my very first job. I was always the one to bring people together, to be like, hey, everybody in your 20s, we're all going to meet here and have lunch. We're going to go bowling. I just like bringing people together. That could go into some deep therapeutic trauma issues of my growing up, who knows? But I don't know. It's always just, I feel like there's a purpose. There's a reason, even as you're saying how we met, who knows? But we connect, whether it's in real life. And I always say, like, there's just all these like Venn diagrams, especially in the Hartford area, and overlap and reasons why that people connect. What do they say, a season or a reason? But I feel like there's a reason why I meant to introduce people to one another, and it builds. It just builds and builds, and I love it.
So what do you want to share, if you could, about your work? What does your work look like? What are the offerings of your business? Can you go into that a little?
Sure. So there's more than at the surface. So, I'm currently a content strategist at a financial services company. And if you meet me networking, I often don't lead with that because that's my bread and butter, but it's not my passion. So my passion is really, again, the community building, and also, the work I do through my company, which I'm a founder now. I just celebrated 7 years. Founder of Uncommon Content. So that is, working with small business owners, individuals, nonprofits to help them build their content strategy, which involves writing and editing and all those sorts of nitty gritty things with, dangling modifiers and M dashes and all that, serial commas that I like to nerd out on.
Yeah.
And under the umbrella of that, which I think you're kind of more focused on today, is Uncommon Community. And that came from the initiative I was doing prior to my job now, which was building Innovation Destination Hartford. So when that initiative ended, I sort of morphed it under my own company and named it Uncommon Community because this community had already formed. So I was like, what am I going to do with all of this? And then that created a whole event series called The Wind Up, which is a quarterly networking panel and pitch event.
So when it comes to that wording uncommon, where does that come from? You spoke to it a little, but can you dig in deep just a little more on that?
It's a funny story. My first business that I launched, and I can air quote the business, but it was actually a cupcake company that I launched, I don't even know, 15, 20 years ago. I don't even remember. And I was working full time and I was making cupcakes on the side. And my colleague, my work wife at the time, came up with Uncommon Cupcake.
Okay.
So that's sort of, when I launched a company doing content, I was like, well, clearly it's got to be uncommon. And, it's just going to keep going until it's eventually, Uncommon Universe. I guess I can announce this. It has not actually been announced yet. So hopefully this will get us going. But we will be launching Uncommon Creative very soon. And that's really the first time I've said that out loud to anybody who's not involved. So Creative Services arm of Uncommon Content will be coming soon. But yeah, uncommon is it's just a fun word. It's a little bit different. It's not common, it's not the usual.
Yeah. So what is
just stuck.
You don't have to go into too many details if you
Sure.
can't, but what is the new venture? What are you seeking to do with that?
Build on more than what I can do alone. So, my strength is storytelling. My strength is content, but I don't do graphics. I don't build websites. I don't do all that other stuff. And now I have some people. So combined, we can offer more. And our sweet spot, I think, will be, working with the small business community and entrepreneurs and startups to help them get going and build their brand.
And what do you think for you, the storytelling that's such a core to the work that you're doing, no matter which job it may be, career or business, for you, where does the storytelling come into play?
It's everywhere. It's a way of authentically connecting to people.
But for you,
me, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. When did that first take hold for you where you realized the power of it? Okay.
Yeah, I was a kid and I was always, writing poetry and writing fiction and writing short stories. So it I think it's always been a part of me because any type of writing like that, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, you're really trying to relate to your audience. So to take that into any industry I'm working with, like right now I'm at a financial services company, taking the we out and making it more you. So things are more relatable. I feel like people want to feel validated. They want to read something that says, this is me. Oh, I understand this. I relate to this. I understand this. And then, of course, when you're selling something, you want to be reading something that's fulfilling a challenge for you. Oh, this can help fix my problem. This is a solution.
What has your work, your business taught you? How has that changed you as a person? It's interesting. I started this series, this kind of offshoot of my main podcast series. And that's a question that I'm curious about is when it comes to your life, because I want to dig deeper into who somebody is. And it's interesting that this series is, within a half hour, the other one is much longer, but just jumping to the core, how has your work changed you as a person?
Oh, tremendously. It's taught me to be adaptable. So as I was saying, I was always a writer. I was always writing, and I have a son who's it's going to be 20 very soon, and he's figuring it out. And I always tell him life isn't linear, but for me it was. I happened to go to college and study writing, and then get a job in publishing. And for me, it was very linear for a while, and then it wasn't because the more work I started doing, the more I was being asked to go on podcasts and being asked to be on a panel and then moderate panels and then get out and talk to people. And so to answer your question, my work has taught me to be adaptable and be open to different opportunities, because I never in a million years would I think I'd be running an event series or getting up in front of people and have something to teach them or tell them. I've spoken to classrooms of college students, of high school students, all these different opportunities. I always just say, yes, show up and wear cute shoes. They're not on screen right now, but they are cute. But it's just being adaptable and being open to opportunity. So my work is no longer just, pen and paper or just typing. It's speaking is now content, creating content from the events I'm doing. I think that's been the biggest lesson, is just to not think of life as linear, like I said.
I think that's amazing. I think that's a huge lesson. And I think young people like your son, young people coming out of college need to realize that maybe in the past it used to be like that, 60s, 70s, earlier, where you did or didn't go to college, you went into the workforce and it was like linear. You worked, got your pension, got out. Now life is just so unpredictable what somebody may be doing. There's just reinvention every so often.
Right.
I'm somebody that
I was very. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. That's all right.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, even starting a company of my own and becoming, I was like, me, an entrepreneur? Like, what? Me, a business owner? No. I'm a writer. I'm just, and that's what I've learned too, is not to just yourself. So sorry, I interrupted you.
That's okay. Did that take you, was that a lot of self-convincing to start your own company? Were other people kind of saying you should do it? How did you,
there was no self
hurdle?
Involved. There was everyone else.
Yeah.
At the time I was interviewing all these entrepreneurs for the initiative, and everyone I met with, I always did freelance on the side, and they're like, why are you not doing your own thing? It wasn't a full-time job for me. So I had some wiggle room. Now I do work full time and I do stuff on the side, so there's even less wiggle room. But yeah, it came from just a lot of prodding and a lot of, why aren't you doing this? And then I thought, well, why don't I? Yeah, I've interviewed so many people. What could possibly go wrong? I must know all there is to know. No, you never know all there is to know, and you're going to make the same mistake.
Yeah. Before, did you say that you've gone more introverted as you've gone older, as I
matured? Yeah. I used to thrive on so many, and I still do. I mean, I am, we do our event series, and I'm high. I'm just like riding that high, but the next day I want to be completely alone. Like I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
But I think in your 20s, your 30s, maybe there's more of that going on. I know for me there was, being around people, being the party lifestyle, the socializing, all of that. Now it's like I'd actually rather network. I'd rather learn about people and what they do and how I can possibly help them. So the introverted side of me is just I've quieted down, as I've matured, I think.
Yeah, I think we spend so much of our maybe first half of life trying to get out there, show what we're about, trying to prove ourselves. Yeah. And then it does get to the point, most people that I've spoken to on here, most people that I've invited on here have reached out to come on. Similar stories where it's like they're going through life trying to prove themselves. And then they get to a point where they realize helping others is kind of like the flex for them. The fulfillment for them is kind of turning it and saying, okay, it's not about me proving myself, but just using my innate skills to kind of draw out stories, relationships, community, as you've said yourself. Yeah. When it comes to you, Nan, what has your work taught you about leadership? How has it evolved your definition of leadership? And I mean, you've interviewed so many people, worked across so many different industries. For you, what's the biggest lesson you've learned about leadership in the work that you've done? What stood out the most?
So I'm glancing down because I did take notes on that, because I was like, it was very specific. First is like having willingness to see things from a different perspective. Whether you're leading or being led, everyone has their own agenda and their own different lens. So even if I'm coming into a group project, somebody else may be seeing it a different way. If I'm having a conversation with my son or my partner, whatever it is, it's just like have a willingness to see things from a different perspective. The next thing for me has been huge is look for ways to be of service. You just completely succinctly touched on that, but just looking for ways where you can help other, because that's what's so fulfilling to me and the work that I do. Those are the highlights, when something really good comes out of the windup and like a connection is made, and I'm like, this wouldn't have happened if I wasn't in the room and I didn't bring people into this room. That just lights me on fire. And the third thing that I always think about is it's okay to ask for help. I really, it's going to go against what I said in some ways to stay in your lane, but there are certain things that I do not do well. And I'd much rather do what I do well and ask for help, or ask somebody else to do the things I don't do well. Like, do not ask me to build a website, like I was trying to add a page yesterday and I almost lost my mind. But it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, I don't know, or I'm not sure, or let me get back to you. Let me, you don't have to be perfect at everything. Like we talked about before, it doesn't have to be linear. It doesn't have to be a certain way. And life surprises you, that opportunity that came from that initiative. Just, that's the person who hired me is a good friend and mentor now. And I'm just like, I don't know what, that was life-changing, it was really life-changing.
Yeah, it's incredible how those relationships, whether it is somebody you've known as a mentor or somebody you just meet by chance, and they just pay attention to how you are, how you navigate your life, how you move through the room or the work that you're doing, or see you on LinkedIn, right? It's amazing how those relationships, if you pay attention, or even don't, because they may be watching you from a distance and then they step in and say, hey, I've got an opportunity for you. And just, it opens up this entire world for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say, is you don't know who's watching.
Yeah.
And you don't know who we're watching too. So
Exactly,
right?
exactly. So the next question, you've mentioned a couple great ones, but what are some other takeaways, action steps that people should consider when it comes to just their leadership, their approach to their work, whatever it may be, their approach to community? Again, you gave a lot of great ones. Are there any ones that didn't come up that you would include? Anything else?
I think I would just add, along to all of that is just finding your tribe. That's just one of my catchphrases, find your tribe. Have trusted people, friends, advisors. I call them froligs sometimes, friends who are colleagues. But, I am so grateful. I've also launched a women's mastermind group that we're coming up probably on 2 years maybe. We meet every month, and those are my trusted advisors. Those are my ride or die people I can count on to say, what do you think of this? Should we launch this event series? How do we do it? Do we charge for it? How do I, all the different questions. Hey, I have a client coming in. Can somebody take a look at this proposal? Is this on track? Is this pricing right? Am I out of my mind? All these things. And we call each other out and trust each other. And it's a loving and supportive criticism, not criticism, but there's another word I just can't think of it.
Feedback.
Feedback. Yeah, exactly. You're right. Yeah, you got it. But just having people you trust for their advice, for their feedback, for their honest, holding up the mirror to you as well. I have mentors in my life too who just find those people because whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're working for somebody, with somebody, against somebody, you need people to hold up the mirror, to show you the things that you don't always see. Even when we hopped on and we were chatting before we started recording, and you were, echoing back to me some things that, I hadn't seen that about myself. So find your people and don't be afraid to use them. Don't be afraid to reach out. The other thing I always say is networking, of course, but also tell people what you're doing, and tell people, people don't know. They don't know what I do unless I can easily explain it in an elevator pitch, which is challenging sometimes, and it changes based on the person. But really being able to succinctly say, this is who I am and what I do and why I do it is the biggest tip, I think. And also when networking, here's my big tip, always say it's nice to see you instead of it's nice to meet you, because I have made that mistake before and I've met the person. So saying it's nice to meet you, and they're like, no, we've met. So I always say,
I'm like, when you
can call me
mention
out
it, I'm
on
like,
it.
okay, how many times have
Nice
I
to
done
see you.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great.
Thank
That
you.
may be like the best tip you gave this entire episode, because it
No,
just.
I hope not. I hope there are a lot of
just,
nuggets.
there's a good reminder there, just because I have been in that situation. No, so I
We all
appreciate
have.
that.
And then you bite it. You're like, oh, oops, yeah, we hadn't met before. And then you think, no, it's not that you're not memorable. I'm just really bad with names and faces.
Yeah. But that doesn't help at all. That doesn't help at all.
Not in this situation.
But I like that suggestion of finding your tribe. You know, some people refer to it as like finding your board, like your board of directors, people that kind of come from different areas, can offer you different perspectives. I think people tend to think about their development, their advancement, their improvement, their development, all as I'm either doing it by myself or for somebody else, not with anybody else. Even in school.
And that's why I'll jump in and say, that's why you will never hear me call Uncommon Community or the Wind Up me or mine. I always say our. We, I mean, a lot of times it is me, but it's powered by my mastermind. It's powered by all the opinions of, the panelists, the people whoever, the attendees. So it's because it's a community event. It's a community building, initiative, Uncommon Community. It's not mine. It's ours.
Yeah. And I like that you bring up that there is that feedback, that there is that accountability, because some people may have the perspective that for somebody to help me, they have to say yes to everything that I want to do or provide. They have to be supportive. If I bring it up, they have to be supportive. But at the same time, it's more powerful to have somebody that can offer you a different lens of perspective, or call you out and just say, no, that's not going to work, but here's why. Like you can tell they're coming from a good standpoint, a good place. They're looking out for your best interest, but it doesn't all have to be 100% comfortable.
Right.
Nan, is there anything you want to share? Anything about what you're up to, your work, your organization, your groups, anything at all? I'll share as much as you provide me with in terms of links when I post this, but if there's anything that you want to share, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I mean, I definitely encourage people to join Uncommon Community. By join, I just mean follow and post, share, get the word out, and definitely join and attend the Wind Up. They are our quarterly panel, pitch, and networking events. We curate a panel on 4 different topics and repeat them every year. So the next one coming up is innovation, July 16th, Wednesday night at Workspace in Manchester. Our topic is, I don't have it written down in front of me, but it's innovation.
Okay.
Our panelists are Ellen Last, Jennifer Matthew from the Connecticut Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation, and Andre Rochester, who just is a brand all of his own, local artist and consultant. They're going to have an awesome conversation, and I know this because I'm going to moderate it, and we're going to have some great networking, and we still have pitch opportunities. So again, it's a community event, so if you show up to pitch, it's no pitch deck required. You can just show up and get feedback, whether your pitch is polished or not. It's a very supportive community, pretty, very casual events. We have an awesome conversation. You're a part of it. So I encourage people to come, even if innovation isn't your thing.
Yeah.
The other topics I should mention are Pivot will be next in October, Community in January, and then we're back to marketing in April.
Okay. I like that, how everything you just said about that event isn't like a traditional networking event. You can make connections there. You can network. But I love the way that it is posed as to learn about your community, to come in and share and refine. That's incredible, because I think a lot of people get put off by networking events. They don't want, I'm not crazy about networking events, but if you factor in, if you infuse that idea of learning, sharing, authentic community that's really there to help build each other up. Because to me, anything we do, something like this, you're right in the area, you're a couple towns away from me. Anything like this, anything that I share of yours or you of mine, on LinkedIn is all about building up that community.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it is kind of selfish, but it's kind of like if you can support somebody and put that good energy out there, like it's gonna benefit everybody. So
For sure.
I love
Yeah.
learning about your organization. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. And you touched on almost all of it, but the tagline for the wind up is listen, leverage, learn. So
Yeah.
I was listening to you. I'm like, yep, okay, good. Then it's coming across as as intended. So
Absolutely.
that's the way it was built,
And I think I've always done better in those in the events where there is a panel, there is a speaker, and then afterwards you can kind of ask questions or move around the room with what you learned or listened to, as opposed to just happy hour from 2 to 4, just straight networking. So I'm glad to know and learn a little more about your organization, that you're in this area and that you're doing what you can for it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to have this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you. And if there's anything that I might have missed, there's so much to cover. This series is very limited to the half hour, or something you're curious about, let me know. I'll reach out to Nancy, which kind of information, wisdom, knowledge, anything at all I can get. I will share the links to her events, to her organization and company when I post this video and this audio. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.